welcome to another episode of AGEUcational. I'm your host, Roy.
I'm Terry.
We are the podcast that we do bring you our journey, not only through our aging, but us helping our parents as they need more and more help, more care. It's there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation. So what we're here to do is, not only talk about our situation, but also we do have professionals in the area that do come on from time to time. So today, though, I think we're going to talk about chronic stress and Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and just to mention that June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. We found an article that was in the Science Alert, on the Science Alert website, saying that chronic stress could be a factor behind Alzheimer's. That is not, I don't like that because, all signs lately are pointing to us having it, but
sooner rather than later too, with the they call they're starting to call it the type 3 diabetes. So, if you have diabetic issues, if you got stress,
inflammation, just all of that, everything leads into, something is going to lead into some kind of brain and heart. It all leads. The older you get, the more you pay attention to it, because as kids, we talked about this earlier, we just are bulletproof, and we just want to eat everything and do what we want to, and reacting and not responding, which is hard to do, responding properly, whatever that means, and not just letting it build up. But chronic stress, oh my gosh, we have it.
There's a lot of it to go around, and it leads to other things that we talk about, the getting enough sleep, and then of course the blood glucose. That as you read down through the study, it was talking about that there is a
the HPA axis. Is that where you're going?
Okay. The I can't even pronounce it.
Hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. It's HPA axis.
And it's a pathway that supposedly located just above your kidneys that links to
two parts
of your brain. But the other thing is that if I'm just trying to look down through here, but if I'm not mistaken, where I read that it also raises the blood glucose, the glucose levels in our blood when we get high stress too. So it's like, well, we're getting it on multi fronts then, and then it typically, if you're stressed, you don't sleep right, you don't eat right. If you're like me, you like to stress eat, which is eating all the bad things that not good for you.
And the molecular geneticist David Groth from Curtin University in Australia is the one who I'm going to quote here. He says, what we know is that chronic stress does affect many biological pathways within our body. There's an intimate interplay between exposure to chronic stress and pathways influencing the body's reaction to such stress. They also mentioned that the HPA axis is part of its job is also to regulate the release of cortisol, the steroid hormone. The greater the stress, the more cortisol is released.
Yeah, I think that's the fight or flight drug or chemical that is released that, we just get, and the other parts of this, probably raises your blood pressure. There's nothing good comes from stress. And then when you have chronic stress, I think it just begins to, take its toll on a lot of our function. I think it actually can reduce our immunity, where you get sick more. And I know I've been, it's been years ago, but been in that position where you just so stressed out for so long, and then it's like you just get sick, get the flu or something like that.
Shuts down. Increase, and we've talked about that earlier too, that increasing the blood sugar, oh my gosh, and the immune system. It's just, a vicious cycle. I mean,
Yeah.
the older we get, the older. I don't like getting old.
Yeah. It says here also, I think this is a quote from that guy that you just mentioned, but it says in the brain, this leads to chronic disruption of normal brain processes, increasing the risk of subsequent neurodegeneration and ultimately dementia. So,
Yeah, and I mean, my dad had, I say he had Alzheimer's. He had Pick's disease, which is a form of dementia, but for all intents and purposes, we called it Alzheimer's. The genetic. I know it's going off the beaten path here, but I think that genetics has a part in it too. I don't know. All of his siblings, all four of his siblings, had some kind of dementia or Alzheimer's too. So
interesting. Yeah, we'll have to uncover that. Take a look at that maybe next week and see what is that genetic connection and how big of a part does it play.
And this is going off too. Would you get a test to see if you were predisposed for it? Because I think or predisposed to it. I think that is an available test right now, isn't it?
That I don't know. I would have to really think about that, because it's like, if there's nothing you can, I guess let's take that back and say, if there's a position that you can do something about it, then yes, maybe. But if it's one of these things like it's just going to happen, I don't really know. I mean, because then it's like you spend all your time worrying about
the future,
when I'm going to get this. And
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that even if you're predisposed to it, that doesn't mean you're 100% going to get it, or 100%, if they say you're not predisposed, doesn't mean 100% that you won't get it. Still a lot of gray area. So I think you could, well, I won't speak for other people. I'll speak for me. I think I would end up worrying about, is tomorrow the day that it happens, versus just living life and maybe doing the things that we can have control over to try and, that healthy decisions that we can make to try to avoid that.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about chronic stress. If you were to know that, that would just probably exacerbate the situation.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that's easier said than done. I know it's how we react to stuff, but unfortunately, life throws things at people that puts them in stressful situations. And this pandemic, I'm sure it's put a lot of people with job situations, trying to eat, pay the bills. We're at a time now where I think they've extended it one more time, but the rent protection.
Oh yeah.
And then, here in Texas, they signed a bill where that the extra federal bump is going away. I think today it's the end of it. So anyway, I guess the point is that it's, even if I told you at 30 that stress is an important factor in this Alzheimer's, it's like, really, what can you do to avoid it? You just...
Well, yeah. I mean, you just have to, let me give you advice. I guess have some kind of strategy to be able to, where do you get that? Is there a class? There's got to be a class. There's a class for everything.
I'm sure there is. They can give you some tools to do it, but it's like, if you're worrying about your livelihood, it's hard to,
by the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, well, I'm not going to be stressed about that. It just is what it is. But, if it projects you into a spot of not having a roof over your head, or not having food to eat, especially if you have kids, to me, it's just one of those things that's easier. It's very easy to pronounce that, oh yeah, you need to avoid stress. Well, people usually don't. I'll say most people don't seek out stressful situations. We try to avoid them, or we try to be proactive to not get ourselves in them. So it's mainly the tools that once we find ourselves there, if there are things that we can do to help ourselves relax. But again, there's situations that, I mean, until whatever the problem is resolved, you're going to be under a tremendous load of stress. And,
and short of going to meditation retreats, or, just some kind of inner working energy retreats or something like that, it's still, things are going to come up where you're not going to be able to do it. But breathing. a lot of deep breathing.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's things that we could do like that. You can deep breaths, you can meditate, you can do a lot of things, but, it's like myself, I can only speak for me, but even doing those things, it may work for a minute, but when I get through with that and have to get back into life, that problem is still there.
Yeah.
And I still have to figure out a way to solve it. So, and maybe that's just me not wanting to deal with it. And maybe, but I don't know. It's hard because I just, like I said, it's just it's easy to say to forget it and move on, but very, very difficult for me. So I feel like I need to solve it. Got a problem, needs an answer, got to do it. If I sit here and wait, it's going to be...
Well, it's not going to solve itself.
Time goes by and I still didn't solve it, so...
Yeah, and of course, there are situations that I guess it's the dude and the chick in us. The dude wants to scientifically fix it all, and the chick in me wants to kind of take it in, breathe it in, approach it from all sides, figure out where to go, and then hope that it goes away so I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, and I guess I've been around enough that most of them don't just go away.
No, they don't.
I'm going to say, sometimes we do borrow trouble, and I think we've talked about this before, that there was a situation surrounding us. Let me just put it that way. There was a situation surrounding us, and, it was kind of on my mind heavy for an evening or two. And then whatever that was, it actually ended up not materializing. And so, we always like to talk about borrowing troubles that, here I was sitting thinking about something, being worried about it. I think it's one of the very few times that actually woke me up in the middle of the night, to deal with it. And then it kind of took a turn. Something happened. What was the plan that was supposed to happen didn't happen. They found another way to do this, so it was like,
So it was like all that wasted time that you could have been sleeping. But sometimes we just get into that rabbit hole and we can't pull out.
Right. Yeah. This was just something that just kept being on in my mind. That, because it resulted from a decision I made to, I gave somebody permission to do something. And then after that, I was trying to be a nice guy. And then after that, I was like, I wished I hadn't have given that permission.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah. Well, no, that was definitely under my control. I shouldn't have done it. So, but then it was already, in motion. So there wasn't much else to do. But anyway.
We digress.
Yes, very much
all
so.
Over. But chronic stress, not good. If you can find a way to deal with it, if you have a little extra time and want to research that, maybe that would be helpful toward not getting Alzheimer's or any of the other things that could be related to the chronic stress and inflammation and all of that.
I got one more piece I was going to read here. It says that identifying the molecular mechanisms underlying the association between chronic stress and Alzheimer's disease, as well as identifying genetic factors that could contribute to the susceptibility of this association, may allow for new therapeutic targets to be identified, as well as strategies targeting chronic stress management to be employed. So that was what the researchers wrote in their paper. But, there's just a lot of good work going on. Haven't heard much more. We talked last time about the new Alzheimer's drug that's come out. And really haven't heard much more from either side, which is surprising. I really thought that we would, hear some of the, some of the people who are affected with Alzheimer's, either themselves, if they're in early stages, come out, or their family members come out to say that, hey, right at this point, anything is worth taking a shot over. We'll try it.
Just to have anything.
Yeah.
They've got Alzheimer's. If you've got Alzheimer's, and there is not really, there are drugs that you can take to help keep you stable, not to, just kind of where you are. It's not going to reverse anything, but that kind of taps out after you take it for so long.
Yeah, and those they only treat the symptoms. They don't really treat. I think this new drug actually was one of the first ones that treats some of the underlying aspects. Again, not, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even with the new drug, not reversal, but if you catch it early enough, maybe just puts you in a holding pattern to stay in the early stages longer than what you would have maybe if you hadn't taken it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just, it's almost been 20 years since they've had any new drugs, so I think there was a lot of there's a lot of pressure from all over the place to get something out. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. But then, you know, my dad is gone, and I don't know how I'd feel about it if he were here. But I would certainly be researching the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say, you know, in honor of Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, there are some. I'm sorry. Do you have anything else?
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's
there are some free Alzheimer's and dementia programs. The Alzheimer's Foundation of America created the AFA Teal Room, and it's a free library of virtual activity and therapeutic programming. You know, you just do it online. They have all these classes that are free: music, art, dance, movement, fitness, gardening, virtual tours, and you can go to the Alzheimer's Foundation organization website for that information. And then also there are a bunch of dementia support groups, and Very Well Health just put out the best seven dementia support groups of 2021. Alzheimer's Association was the best overall support group. The best for Lewy body dementia is the Lewy Body Dementia Association. Family Caregiver Alliance was the best for the caregivers. American Parkinson's Disease Association. Best for mentorship is Dementia Mentors. And social media is Memory People. I haven't been on that one yet, but I'm very interested to find out about more about that one.
Yeah, and you know, the Alzheimer's Association has a lot of great resources, and
Really
they're everywhere. So it never hurts to give them a call. They had a little write-up ahead of this that just basically was talking that if you're in the early stages, you can, you know, that it can help improve some of your quality of life. And so it's very important for you and your caregivers to, you know, seek out a group and find, there's more than one. So if you go to one you don't feel comfortable with or really doesn't meet your needs, look around and find one in your community that help. And they also have a bunch online now. So if you don't want to get out of the house, or if you live in a smaller rural environment where you, you know, where they may not be available in your town, you can always get online and, you know, join groups. And with anything this devastating, it's just great to seek support.
Yeah, instead of reinventing the wheel and having to do all the research yourself, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it alone, and it's not weak or to ask for help. And just ask the questions that you need help with your answers on. You know, you surely need to research other things, but if you're getting, you know, if you put the question out there and 5 people come back and say, oh yeah, this is the right thing to do, and then 10 come back and say, no, you need to check this out, and, you know, you might want to double check.
Yeah, there's just people that have been through it can help us know what to do, what are some things that have worked for them, and you know, some best practices, and just be there to talk to. You know, sometimes it's more just a it's
therapeutic too.
Yeah,
you know,
need somebody just to reach out to that has been through this, that can you know, be somebody that you can lean on. So
yeah,
look for those places. There's a lot of them. You know, Google them. Call the Alzheimer's Association. Call you know, one of your senior center senior community centers. A lot of places you could turn to for that.
Yeah, it's just really important that you get that care.
All right. Unless you have anything else, that's going to do it for this episode. You good?
I think I'm good.
All right, then. Well, thanks a lot for listening. Of course, like I said, we try to release our guest episodes on Tuesday, and then on our Thursday episodes, we'll be talking a little bit more about, maybe some things that we've gone through or that we're seeing. I've got my parents, my mom and stepdad are fixing to make the move from, their house of 30 years into not to a community. It's kind of a community.
It's like a 55 plus.
Right. It used to, when it was first built, it was a little different situation, but now it's just a apartment rental community. So we're going to see how that goes with we're going through the downsizing, and then see how this goes. So anyway, we'll be talking about things that are happening with us, but also, we've kind of chosen to, at this point, to focus a lot on dementia, just because it affects so many people. It's devastating, and, there may be some things that we can do health-wise to, like relieving our stress, making sure our sugars are in order.
Eating a healthy diet overall. I mean, for everything, but and we had Dr. Joy was on. She's a dentist, and she goes and does house calls for older people, and helps the caregivers figure out how to do the teeth. You just don't think about that. And brush your teeth, just brush your teeth. Well, no, there's more to it, because a lot of people have, when they get older, they might have bridges or whatever. And if somebody doesn't tell the caregiver, how are they to know? Right. So that can affect all kinds of things.
Right. Yeah, and I was surprised in that episode to find out that, I knew that our oral health affected our heart health as well. So I was very surprised when she said that it can affect our brain health too.
Straight
I just never
to your
thought.
brain, the plaque everywhere.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, up until next time, that's going to do it for us. I'm Roy.
I'm Terry.
Of course, you can find us at www.AGEUcational. Excuse me.
All right.
Yeah, www.AGEUcational.com. We're on all the major social media platforms, as well as all the major podcast platforms: Google, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes. If we're not on one that you listen to, please reach out. We'd be glad to get that added. So until next time, take care of yourself and take care of your health.